If you've never made a laser cut kit, let me show you how I made this little beauty. Hi, welcome back to Chadwick Model Railway. I'm Charlie. Have you ever shied away from building a laser cut kit? I know I have. And I then commissioned Steve Smith of Railway Laser Lines to build me a station building for the branch line station. He came up with this design and I really didn't know how to assemble it or whatever, so I said to him, why don't we just build it together so I can learn from you. You know, you learn from experts, that's the way we do things. Now if you fancy one of these, there are available commercially from Steve. Or of course, if there's a kit you fancy, hopefully during this video, and I know it's an hour long, are the lessons that you might need to put these things together. It's very easy to shy away from these things, but because they're not common, you know, you don't go to model railway shows and see the same old Bachmann signal box or the Hornby loco shed. It's different. It's something, you know, particular to you. It's not that, they're not that common, let's say. So sit yourself down, get yourself a coffee, have a bun halfway through, and I'll see you at the end. So here we are, ready to go on the station building, and joining me today is Steve Smith from Railway Laser Lines.
Hi Charlie.
So what are you all about then, Steve?
So my name's Steve Smith from Railway Laser Lines. Formed it in 2019, and I make laser cut kits for the railway modeller, predominantly in 00 and O gauge. We do N gauge, and we're just venturing into TT 120 as well. Obviously Charlie approached me to do his platform tops a little while ago, late last year, and we completed those, and thank you to those that have purchased those platform tops, much appreciated. And then we ventured on to the station building, which is why I'm here today, because we're going to make the station building, and then hopefully perhaps we'll come on to canopies further down the line. But today is all about the station building. In front of us is the kit. There's 191 parts to this kit. So Charlie, are you going to make this, or am I going to make it?
I think it's best if I make it, because you're obviously skilled at this and I'm not, so we can I can sort of fathom it out as I go. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right.
But we've got a problem, Charlie.
Go for it.
Wrong colour top.
Because it's a painting and gluing day.
Correct answer.
Right. Let's go.
Right. So this kit is launched this Friday. So when you see this video, this kit will become available if you'd like to purchase it. And there is a parts list. Now we've added P's and PTs for what needs to be primed and painted to give you a extra help, but obviously we're going to make it today. And the only thing I can really suggest is when you make a kit like this is really take your time, don't rush it. There are a lot of fragile parts to this kit, so just be careful, and a lot of the brickwork is in a framework, so you need to be careful when you take those apart. These are enhanced laser cut brickwork, so they are very, very fragile, so just be careful. And yeah, over to you, Charlie.
Right, okay. So let's clear some of the bits away that we don't need.
Okay, so
and then start at the, I imagine it's a skeleton first.
So the skeleton framework, all our kits, our premium kits come with a skeleton framework.
Right.
It gives you the solidity of a base to work with.
Let's clear the stuff we don't need.
Right, Charlie, so what we need to do is to prime some of the parts. Now, MDF is quite porous, so we're going to be priming that in a white primer. And we used to use Halford's primer, but not anymore. They've changed their paint. So I've been using this one now, a Pro Coat primer available from Toolstation. Really, really good. Found this to be extremely good, and a fraction of the price of Halford's primer too. So that was a good find. While we're priming the skeleton frame, are we required to paint anything else in white primer? Yes, we need to do the windows and the doors, so we can paint those at the same time to save a bit of time. Now with the skeleton frame, we don't need to paint both sides, because obviously on the external we're going to be adding some brickwork. So make sure that you've got the skeleton frame the right way around. So this is the front of the building, and it has the main door with a big window and the small windows at the front. this is the front of the building, so we don't need to prime that. So I tend just to mark it with an X, so I know I don't need to prime that side. And the same with the other side, just mark it with an X, and we don't need to prime that. This part here is the ceiling, so obviously we need to prime just the one side. This is the same either side, it doesn't matter, so I tend to not prime the burnt side, so I'll put a cross on there. These are the internal walls, structures, so these need to be primed both sides. So obviously paint one side, allow it to dry thoroughly, and then turn it over and paint the other sides. Now we are using a new push to fit system on this, where they'll just push and slot in. So we need to protect the edges of the noggin, so we need to do a little bit of masking up prior to painting. But we also need to bear in mind that the two internal walls face inwards, that we need to see the insides. So there's a little bit of work to do here. So Charlie, let's start adding some masking parts to the edges of these parts.
Now, as you can see, we've used Tamiya masking tape to over the what are they called, dovetails?
Noggins, whatever you want to call them.
Anyway, so we take these outside, give them a quick blast with the white primer, and then once that's dry, we'll probably give them a couple of coats, and then we'll prime them then with a sort of a magnolia beigey paint. And all I have on hand, I'm not suggesting for a moment you use this, is Halford's Rover Rattan Beige, which is kind of stuff that I've left, God, heaven only knows where this is left over from, but hopefully it will give us the right colour. So we'll spray them white, a few hours later spray them with this kind of beige paint, and then we should be ready to glue.
You will find, Charlie, when you come to prime MDF, it's quite porous, so it will soak into the MDF. So the first couple of coats of paint may not look great. So allow that to dry a good hour or so, depending on what time of year you're painting. You may need to give it a quick sand and then give it a final couple of coats. Allow it then to thoroughly dry before turning over and doing the other side. Obviously we're doing the windows and the doors. You can leave those in the frames because they will be slotting into the skeleton frame. So again, a couple of light coats, allow it to dry thoroughly, turn it over and do the other side. If you're not happy, just do light coats more and often. Don't put too much paint on because it will just go everywhere and you'll ruin your windows and skeleton frame. So just light coats, take your time, and you'll be okay to go.
Now, after several coats with the white primer, we're now ready to go out and slap some of this Rover Rattan Beige on it. Now, I must emphasise here, this isn't the right paint for the right job. I mean, this is just something I've got lying around. You know, if you can get a decent acrylic paint, that would be absolutely smashing. But it's just a case of needs must, and we'll go and see how it looks like. And obviously, it's going to take several coats to get this in. So take your time when you're doing this bit. Now, while we're waiting for the skeleton to dry with the coat of sort of magnolia on it, it's time to do the brickwork on these bits. Now, if Steve does the first one and then monkey see, monkey do, I'll have a go.
So recommend using an acrylic paint on double O gauge brickwork. O gauge you can use enamels, but because of the size of the bricks on double O, they're tiny, use a Humbrol. I recommend matte 113, which is sort of like a browny leather colour, and a Humbrol 63, which is like an orange colour, but you can use whatever colour you like, reds, browns, there's lots of different colour acrylics, but this just happens to be the two that I like. So we're going to use a sponge and we're going to use the dabbing method. So I'll add some paint onto just a spare piece of MDF, which was the protection for your roof trusses. Let's literally spread it out a little bit, and then all we're doing is we're dabbing over the brickwork in light coats to cover the brick. Now, it might take a couple of coats to do. Don't put too much paint on in one go, otherwise it'll all seep through. And you'll notice, obviously, this is still in its fret, so leave it in its fret and we'll take it out when we come to glue it to the skeleton framework. And then we can use a paintbrush and just go over the ends, because obviously we're going to be using the butt joints to join together and there'll be no paint on those, so just do that at the end. But just go careful on how much paint you use. It will dry very quickly, being acrylic, but just get enough on there so it covers over the MDF engraved brickwork. And again, if you want then to add different colours, you can do. So that's kind of one done. Then we'll move on to do the rest. So Charlie, over to you. So we'll give you a little bit.
And what is this?
So it's just literally a sponge.
Right.
You buy those from your local hardware shop or online for £1. It's easy as that. So you've done that one, so move on to the next one.
Oops.
So it's just literally dabbing it across all the brickwork. If you put too much paint on one area, just grab it in. Just grab it again and just move it across. It's fine. You know, it's...
Yeah, you could see I did put too much on straight away.
But you should find once that's dry, it's okay. But you might just notice it, but it's not the end of the world.
Because I'm starting to fill up the joints. Okay. And what was this, Steve? You say
so
Humbrol?
This is a Humbrol 63. It's more of a, sort of like an orange colour. If you want to break up the wholeness of the red or brown.
And then we just go lightly.
Literally small dabs in random places. That's all we're doing. That's it. Yeah, we don't need much. It's just giving extra tones to the brickwork. If you go wrong, just go back over it with your brown, red, whatever. And again, you can add different shades of colours, but these are the two that I just get used to doing, and I think they work extremely well.
Is that too much or what?
No, that's, yeah. So just to finish off over these couple, if you've gone wrong, put too much on, you think, no, I'll go back on and add some brown, which we might do.
I put too much on.
You made a laser cut kit before, Charlie?
I don't recall I have, to be perfectly honest.
Let this dry. If you decide you want to mortar brickwork, there is something you really do need to do, because you need to matte varnish this once it's finished. Double O gauge brickworks are extremely tiny. They're only like 3mm by 1mm approximately. So I find that it enhances the brickwork by not having any mortar. But if you want mortar, you need to do a quick spray of matte varnish to protect the paintwork. Otherwise, when you come to add your mortar, it will blend in, it will go all pink and it will look hideous. So personal choice is don't mortar double O gauge brickwork, and we'll show you later the difference between a non-mortared one and a mortared one, and then you make the decision.
Okay. In the meantime, I need to nip back outside and do another coat of that beigey colour on those internal surfaces. So, moving on to the roof, and Steve has brought with him a Citadel paint, Citadel layer, Eshin Grey.
Right. You can use whatever colour you like, but this is the roof parts. These are etched engraved. So rather than you guys have to put tiny little pieces of card on the roof and glue them, this is a one-piece part. And if you put your fingernail across there, you can see, you'll feel them etched as the tiles go. So you need to brush these, or you could spray paint them. So this is just a grey paint. Just happens that the building that this is designed on had a grey roof, so, but it could be brown, could be any colour you like. So you need to paint these on, and again, small amounts, and just do a smaller line at a time, and gradually fill it up. You'll see it go on. You will lose some of the engraved tile vertical lines, but when you come to look at roofs, they're not that visible anyway. But this is.
What do you mean the roof isn't visible?
The tiles. Because of all the moss and dirt and everything, you'd very rarely see it. But you want a decent enough paint to go on it just to cover the again, this is MDF, etched engraved, and makes life a lot easier.
And this is several coats?
No, you can normally get away with one coat. You'll see at the end how you've got on as to whether you put enough on, whether you need to do another coat. What I would tend to do is just paint them all, and then when you get back to the beginning, see how it's dried, and do you need to put another coat on.
So we've painted these with that Citadel paint, and as you can see, we haven't lost the definition of the tiles. That's come out pretty well, hasn't it?
They've come up really well, yeah.
Lovely. Right, what's next?
We need to crack on and build the roof supports for the building.
Okay.
We'll do that while everything else is still drying. Right, so we've done the fun part, which is all the painting. So now we need to start actually building something, and this is the roof trusses. Now, this is most probably the most awkward part of the build, so do please take your time. Now, you have two end section roofs and a middle section roof. They do come in a fret for transportation so they don't get damaged, so they will be held on by some masking tape. Just take that off and undo them, and then just take them out. As you can see, they're extremely fragile and thin. Just be careful. So take them out. I have included a spare one on each of those. For the middle one I haven't, because they're a little bit thicker. So what we need to do, we need to glue all these together. So for gluing purposes, we recommend Deluxe Materials Rocket Card Glue. Great product. If you don't want to use that one, they do an alternative, which is the laser cut kit glue. And it has a metal nozzle. It's a little bit easier to use, but this is a lot more expensive. Now, when I use the Rocket Card Glue, I use my trusty cocktail sticks, which is just decant some of the glue into a pot, and I use cocktail stick to add the glue and then add it on to each item, as you'll see as we go along.
We're ready to rock. I've got a blob of Rocket Card Glue on here, and Steve is going to keep me in
Right, so
check.
this is the centre top apex piece. So we're going to add some glue into the insets of the 4 columns.
The 4 shallow ones.
Yep, not
okay.
the big one in the middle, because that joins the 2 roofs together.
In there, 1, 2.
Don't be frightened of putting
too much
glue
on.
in there. Yeah, that's.
Be okay to put too much on?
You can put too much on; it'll come out. You can always wipe it off with a paintbrush. It's not.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Yep.
So now we need the roof truss, and as you can see, it's got the hole in there.
There's a cutaway at the top.
Cutaway. You need to slide that into the top of the ridge, and just push it down, and then pinch it underneath and the top so it fits in nicely. You'll know that it's gone in.
It's just, it does sit a little proud.
That's fine. Yeah, you should be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And then do the next one. This is a fiddly part, so just take your time, as I said earlier. So, as Charlie's finding out.
I've got hands like bananas. Yeah.
It's just pinching them together just to make sure they fit in there nicely. The hardest part is when we come to do the end parts, because we don't have anything to fit them into, so we do need to hold them in place while they're drying. So again,
okay.
So pinch them in, make sure you find that they've gone in okay. They look all good. So now you just need to add a bit of Rocket Card Glue to the end. Yeah, and then we're going to add the final one, but because there's no continuation of the rib, you need to hold it into position. So I would suggest holding it there for about 20 or 30 seconds, allowing it to dry and bond. Doesn't matter if you get glue anywhere, because this is not going to be seen, okay? So it doesn't matter if you get more excess glue, it's not going to be seen. So allow that one to dry, and once that's dry, you can then do the same to the other end. At the moment, it's all still very flimsy, but we've got the bottom supports to add on. Yep, so that's it. Yep, so add that on again. Slot it on, hold it on in place, keep it there with your fingers. Have a good look to make sure they're all lined up the same. All looks good to me, this end.
Okay.
So
we just leave that
I
to
would
dry.
then put that aside and just allow it to dry just for a couple of minutes before we move on to the next section.
Okay.
So
next.
we need to make another one of those. So we can do exactly the same with this one.
Right. So now we need to add the roof truss supports, yeah?
Yeah.
And they go in like that.
Lock into the, yeah.
So if I then glue those into the gaps.
Yeah. If you're not comfortable with a cocktail stick, use a paintbrush and glue it in with a paintbrush. It's entirely up to you, but cocktail sticks just seem to work really well. And you can chuck a cocktail stick away. Paintbrushes you have to wash and they go off.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So I put the end in first and then sort of twiddle my way along to get the others to slot in.
This is the fiddliest part, making sure that they do slot in, but you'll get there and all of a sudden it will just suddenly slot in. So it's making sure you don't damage the end ones, because they've got nothing really to hold on to apart from the very edge.
Right.
And then push it down.
And the glue doesn't go off straight away like a super glue, so you've got some time to work it out.
You've got a little bit of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then replicate that with the other side.
One down, one to go. I think it's worth mentioning that I am no MDF sort of kit building expert here.
I'd never have guessed.
And if I can do it, rest assured, I'm sure you can. It's just a case of taking your time. I mean, I am hurrying this just for the sake of the video and everything else. So it's a sort of a 2-day job, isn't it? Really, you know, sort of.
Am I here for 2 days?
But we've crammed.
You never told me that.
But we've crammed it in. We've crammed it into 1 day. So it's a case. You might want to take your time over a couple of evenings doing it rather than as we're doing, trying to get it all.
You see that just all of a sudden just slotted in.
It just slotted in, and then hopefully I've managed to keep it in frame on that camera. Right, little press.
Yeah, and
happy.
And then just make sure the ends
Push
holding
the
on
ends
to
in.
yeah. So that's that done. So they're the 2 end roof supports.
Beautiful. And then obviously we just repeat that for the other one.
Yeah. And these don't get primed or painted. These are not visible, so there's no point priming or painting those.
Moving on. Right, and the next one, centre one now.
Yeah.
So
a little bit more trickier.
So it's 2 different lengths.
Yeah. So you've got a top support and 2 bottom supports.
Right. We've spoken about this off camera, and the top support goes on last, doesn't it?
Ideally, the bottom ones.
We put that goes there onto there.
Yeah.
And then work our way along.
Yeah.
Okay.
So add your glue into the holes.
Glue into that gap there. And does this rocket card glue come on? Will it come back off of my lovely mat? Or am I ruining my mat?
No, you'll need a new mat.
Never told me I'm going to ruin my mat. Right. Okay.
Your mats are rather clean. You should see mine.
This is one of my... No, this is...
This is clean. You should see
I
mine.
know. I know. I don't doubt it. But
yeah.
Excuse me. Here's one I collapsed earlier.
Yeah. This is a little more tricky. You need to use your fingers to sort of like push it down and hold it there just while it bonds. Rocket card glue does bond fairly quickly. Oh, yeah. Just...
I'm sorry if there's any bad language coming out here.
There's no bad language. There you go. Okay.
That was a challenge.
That was a challenge.
Right, next bit.
So add some glue to the top of your roof trusses. Yep, slot it in.
Beautiful.
That one went in rather.
Well, what a guy.
Okay, so now you need to let that really bond for a good few minutes, because what we'll be doing is adding this to the sides of the other roof trusses.
If I can just mention it here on camera, it's still wonkyable, if you know what I mean. So if you use the mat and line it up, you can make sure that your angles are all 90 degrees. So now we have our 2 frames and the cross bit. We need to glue those together. So I'm told.
Yep. Yeah, bit of glue inside there.
Bit of glue in the gap there.
Yeah. Same with the other side.
Same the other side.
And then it literally notches on to the ends.
It just leans in like that.
Just make sure that it notches in. You've gone too far over on that one, Charlie. So it'll slot in, and then so you'll feel it. Too high. Go back. So you should feel it slot basically.
Oh, I see.
It just basically lodges in. Yep. That's it.
Okay, move this to one side.
Yep.
You move those bits out.
That's it.
Okay, what's next?
Back it to the skeleton frame. Now all your paintwork has dried. You've done both sides on some parts.
I did mention this wasn't the best paint to use because it was the only thing I could find, and it is a little bit glossy. It is actually sort of Great Western Railway magnolia, isn't it?
It's
in
lovely,
a funny sort of way, isn't it?
Like
but it's glossy, and perhaps it should be completely matte.
You could, if you wanted to, matte varnish it at this stage.
Yeah.
But obviously
we won't. Right, okay, what's next, Steve?
So we're going to add the windows. So they come in a fret, and it's basically just cutting them out. Now there are engraved lines along the fret as to where they're held on. So a little blade inside, just notch them out.
Okay, so
be careful how you do them.
So there's a line, the line is there and there.
Yep.
So if I go in that gap.
And just notch it down, that's it. Hence why I like my zippy blades. because there you've got anything to do. And
So
it should
will that
just
pop
then,
out?
it should, yeah, there you go. So we've got to make sure that the windows, when they go inside, so the paint facing outwards towards you is the inside of the building. So the windows need to fit in and go flush at the bottom. Bit of glue, cocktail stick, glue around the outside. You might get some on your fingers, don't worry. That's done. And then drop it in. That's all you're doing. If you get a little bit of glue on there, it's not the end of the world, just wipe it off. Just twirl it around and then just
leave it.
Keep it there for a moment. Yep. You can lift it off.
No, right.
Now if it falls through, it falls through. Just add a tiny little bit more glue.
Now clearly we've got loads to do, so we'll be back to you when we've done.
Right.
Now as you can see, we have the windows installed and a door, and the Georgian bars go at the top, and obviously these larger windows have a Georgian bar, as does this door here. There is a door without a Georgian bar, and we've kind of earmarked those to go here for the main doors, but you can see how it sort of fits. And the next thing that Steve tells me to do is we need to add the glazing.
The glazing. Which
comes in a sort of bendy plastic strip.
And you
pull that out.
Just push them out. You don't need a knife or anything to take them out, but they are covered.
They are covered both sides with a backing, marvellous. Yeah. So pull that one out and then peel that one off.
You might want to just then quickly clean the glass afterwards if you've got your finger marks on them, because obviously that will show.
Yeah.
IPA will do the job, and a kitchen towel.
Yeah. And then obviously we know to fit them, and you're using glue and glaze.
This time you're using glue and glaze from Deluxe Materials, and it's literally a blob in each corner.
Cocktail stick.
Cocktail stick.
So hopefully you can see this.
The smallest amount. You don't need hardly any.
So
in
if I do this
corner of your window.
So if I do that one there, there's a little blob there.
Yeah.
Little blob there.
Yeah. That's it. And in the other corner, that's all you need. Your glazing's not going anywhere.
And then pop it in.
Slot it in. If by any chance you put too much glaze in, glue on the glazing, and you find it's spooling out on the other side, get a clean cocktail stick and just wipe it away with your cocktail stick. But glue and glaze does dry clear. So
Okay.
it should be too bad.
So
we've got 16 more windows to do,
Charlie. We'll see in a bit. See you in 16 more windows time. Now, Steve and I have done the glazing, and hopefully you can see it twinkling in the light there of the windows. And I must confess, it looks pretty nifty. I did get one wrong. I put a door in there that I intended to have a Georgian bar through it, but anyway, I can't get it out. These things happen.
It's not going to matter.
No, no one will die. And these are the dividing walls between the between the rooms. And Steve has designed a little booking office window with a tiny cutaway in the bottom, so you can give your money to British Rail.
So make sure you put that around the right way.
So make sure that the glazing there, the cutaway section is on the bottom. Lovely. Right. What's next, mate?
So we've now got to make the skeleton frame as a whole part. So we've got the ceiling back in position. Obviously that was only painted one side. That's still white because the ceiling would be white. All the rest of it is done. So it's a matter of now of fitting this all together. Now part of this uses the push to fit system. So we don't need any glue. The only time we'll need the glue is to bond the outer edges of the 4 walls. So hopefully it will make your life a little bit easier, not having to keep gluing all the time. So the first part we need to do is choose one of the front or rear sections. So pick one of those.
So, okay, so that'll be the front then.
So turn it upside down, because obviously that's it. So that's on the inside. So we want to make sure that your ceiling is facing inwards the correct way. So that slots in. So put it in at one side, push it in and push it down, and it'll slot in, and hopefully it will push and fit. Now they are tight. Push it down. Oh, you can do it, Charlie. Oh, push it down. There you go, and that's, you just felt that.
And it clicks into place.
And there you go. That's no glue.
That's not going anywhere.
That's not going anywhere.
No.
Not. You can pull it back out again if you've made a mistake. You can pull it back out again.
Right.
Okay, so that's the first section. Now we need to make sure we get the internal sections correct. So we've got to decide where you want your waiting rooms or your booking office, etc. Because obviously that dictates as to which part you put in next.
Right.
So
I've just thrown a spanner at you now.
Yeah.
Is we haven't painted this.
No, because that's not going to be visible. So that's the top of the roof where...
But these rooms are.
Yeah, but they're not used.
Okay.
Okay, so...
But let's move on to this. If
Yeah.
you decided to light in here,
Yes.
now's the time to
put a
think
hole
about
and
it,
put
to drill a little couple of holes
Yes.
if you're going to poke your wires, because it might look good actually with a little glow of a light through these if you run your model railway in sort of in dawn and dusk sort of
There's
thing.
no base to this, so you can run the wires up.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Okay, right. So which
So
bit next,
you've
buddy?
now got to decide which side you want your
booking office.
booking office.
This is the front
So
of
that's the front. Yep.
So I want my booking office.
You want it on the front, and you decide whether you want it to the right or the left.
So I want to come
put
in.
mine on the left.
Right. So I'll follow you then.
Yeah.
So if let's see if we can get this on the camera.
Yeah.
So you'll come through the front door, and the booking office then will be, the window will be right in front of you.
Yeah.
So we'll push that into there.
Yeah,
so this is again another push fit.
Put it in at an angle, and then push it in and push it down. Be careful, because obviously this has got a lot of paint on it. So
yeah, I don't want to push the window out. No.
That's it. It's slotted in.
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, so that's that one. So
One
you
on
now
the
need
other.
to do the replica of the other side. Which
And
is
I'll
that
have the
part.
door, and I'll have the doors facing each other.
Yeah.
If you can see that. Yeah.
So again, slot it in, slight angle for it to go in. Try not to put the pressure from the right top, because obviously you've got no room there. Use your fingers underneath. There you go, that slots in.
Yep.
Done. Okay.
Yep.
So that's that one. Right, so now we need to do the front. So we're literally going to put it on the front. Yep.
And then beat this into place.
Well, not so much beat. You've got to be
Right.
careful, because obviously, because you've got your doors here,
Yeah.
you've got no room. So just use your fingers and push it in there, and it will slot in. It depends on how much paint you've put on your walls.
Have I got another slot? Yes, there's another
So
slot
you've got
there
one,
and
two,
there
three
as
at the
well.
top,
Yep, okay.
two there.
And there's another one there.
Yeah, so push it down, push that one down.
I think it's a case of
That's
twiddling it.
Yeah, you'll
kind
hear
of.
it snap in. That's it. That's it, and then that one. There you go. So that's it, and then probably just on that one slightly. Be careful with your door, so you're not going to.
Yeah, because you could push your
You
windows
can push
back
your
in.
door in.
switch.
Yeah. So now, that's and if you turn it back upside down, Charlie, you'll see if you've got any gaps at all, which you haven't. So as good as that. That one might need just pushing it just slightly bit more. There you go.
Yep.
That's done. So. That's
Okay.
done. And now we need to add the divider walls, which are those two pieces over here. So again, which way you want your door around is entirely up to you.
Okay.
Right.
Right. What's next?
So now we've done that, we need to glue the outside. This is the only place where you need glue. The rest of it is all push to fit. Can't do push to fit on the outside because there's nothing to combine to. So what we need to do is we'll need to add some glue on the inner sections here, fit your side section, and obviously it is going to push to fit through here, and it's still going to push to fit through there. But now
you
we've
mean
got,
that way, don't you?
Yeah. No. Yes, it. Yeah, that's correct. Beg your pardon. But you do need to glue on these four corners, because obviously we need for it to
Yes,
combine.
because
So,
this is getting right. So that's my internal things there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Your push to fit will keep it secure in the middle,
Okay.
but you still need glue on the outside. So we go back to rocket card glue for this one, and then just add some glue into the four notches.
The four recesses.
Recesses, yeah. That's it. Don't need too much, because obviously they will be secure from the inside. That's it.
Yeah.
And obviously make sure then the window is, you're
And
using
this-
the correct side. So where's your front of your building, Charlie? So your front of your building is here. So the window needs to be at the back of the building. So you need to make sure it's the other part, isn't it? So that's the one.
So that one there
is going to go on
is
that
going.
one.
The window goes to the
Yeah.
back of the
And
building.
the window goes. If you get that wrong, then you're in trouble, because of your brickwork would be wrong.
Ah, good point.
Yeah,
Well
so
done.
you need to make sure that the side window is at the back of the building, and the back of the building is the one with all the long windows at the back rather than the small windows. That's it. There you go. Slap. That's it.
Beautiful.
Okay,
And
so
hopefully
again,
you can see from that camera there now the internal openings Lovely.
I like that colour actually. That's
Well, that
nicotine colour. Wasn't that what the walls were back in the day? Nicotine?
You ever smoked?
No.
I used to be a smoker.
No, never.
Dreadful. Dreadful.
Although I
habit.
used to work in the betting industry for many years, so I've smoked other people's fumes. There you go. So that's done. We'll leave that on the side for 10 or 15 minutes to cure.
Okay.
And
Unfortunately, I didn't bash any of the windows in, so
Good.
it's kind of noteworthy, isn't it? Right. What's next, buddy?
we will put the roof in to the
So just
top.
pick it up and plonk it
So,
on?
yeah, you can put it and plonk it in. Just so this is where you'll need to make sure that it fits in. So it should slide in there really nicely. But again, like if Charlie's put too much paint on, it might not fit. So just be careful. But you'll find that most probably, without a shadow of doubt, it will go in. But we will need to take it back out again to glue. So don't go out your way to fit. But you're doing the right thing because you're checking. There you go. That's fitted in there, lovely. So that's
Lovely.
how your roof goes in. So you've now got
I'm
starting
very,
to take
I'm very
shape.
proud now. We're getting there.
And the reason why we haven't put these doors in is because there's no bottom to them. You'll end up breaking them. So you put them on at the very last.
Okay.
So
Right. Where do we need to put glue?
right, so glue. We're going to be gluing along the 4 lines
Yeah.
and then the 2 lines. And then we'll be sticking it back in. It doesn't matter which way round that roof goes in because it's exactly the same. So you just need to make sure that you've got plenty of glue
Okay. So these
on
lines.
the bottom. Yep, the 4 lines that go across, 2 lines that go down.
Okay.
Okay, so fit it back in. We know it fits because you've tested it. And you'll find then what
And there's no left. There's no right and wrong way. It's just
no, it'll slot in
completely
and then
symmetrical.
They'll then slot over the edges of the roof, and then you'll find the edges of these slot in over the side of the building, which is done. That's it. So I would simply put your hand on top, hold it in position, leave it there
Be
for
back
a
in a
couple of
bit.
minutes, and that's done.
Right, ready to go. Roof's on and glued. So what we need to do now, the stuff we painted earlier, you can see that it's held in by tape to keep it together, to keep it safe, as it were, in the packaging, which Steve has
It makes it easier for transportation.
kindly done it,
and
yeah.
protection. Yeah.
And then if we rip off the tape gently,
You don't want notches out.
Then- oh, there we are.
It falls out.
Easy as that. Now, I've had a look at this off camera, and clearly these things are different because there's 2 small windows in this one and 5 large in that one. So I can't emphasize this enough, don't screw this up.
No.
So that one
You
there
get one shot.
must be for this side, and then the 2 interlocking panels have got a top and a bottom to them, and the
Lead in the
bottom,
lintel.
the lintel goes
bottom.
at the bottom, so that must be the bottom because it's thinner.
Yeah.
There's the lintel at
That's
the
it.
top.
Yep. And
At
then
the
ledge
bottom goes the ledge.
Yep.
So this bit, because it's fatter, must be the top, and that bit, because it's thinner, must be the bottom. So then we need to go to one of the side panels. So this side panel has a window there, so it must be that one. Am I right, Steve?
Correct.
Right.
It slots underneath the roof truss.
Okay, and it must go, yeah, as Steve mentioned, when you fit it, you've got to go underneath the roof trusses. So that goes there, that goes there. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah, you
And they
can.
should then interlock.
And then they'll interlock perfectly. Don't go any further with this unless you understand exactly where the windows are, because now obviously here they're interlocked and now you can see the windows in place. Right, I
What-
imagine this is the risky bit then, Steve.
This is the trees pass. What we've done before Charlie puts these on is obviously because the skeleton frame, when you glue the outsides, the tolerance of MDF can vary. So what I tend to do is to sand down the corners on each edge of the 4 corners, just to give you that extra option of making sure that you've got no horrible bits sticking out.
Lumps
So
and
when you
bumps.
come to put your brickwork on, you've got as flush surface as possible. Just be careful if you do that, because obviously you've got windows and glazing all around, and your roof supports on is not to get them broken. But it's worth spending just a few minutes just sanding down those corners just to give you a better interlock when you come to join these. Add the glue to the back of the brickwork, not the building. So when we come to add them on, you do get only one chance at this. It sounds worse than what it is, Charlie, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
As long as you get the correct front part on and the
panel.
correct side part on, and put them on the building on a flat surface, and make sure that you're doing, line them up to make sure then that the windows are flush with the back of the skeleton frame windows as well.
Okay.
It does sound a lot more tricky than what it is.
This might be a bit awkward with the camera
Yeah.
because I'm going to have to glue it on sort of facing me to make sure it's right, but then once it's in place obviously we can swing it round.
Yeah.
And that one there is, don't tell me, that one there is for that one
Correct.
there. Right,
Yeah.
okay, let's slap
And
some
again,
glue.
we're going to be using rocket card glue,
Yeah.
or if you prefer you're using that one, you can use that one as well. And
Right.
we're literally dabbing glue on the back of this. Don't have to do it everywhere, but on the corners where the interlocking brickwork arrives together, just put a bead of glue all the way along, because when we come to hold it together, we want that to bond, because we don't want brickwork
So
coming
do you
apart.
want it, a
So
line
not just to the edge, so they don't go over the bricks. Just down here, and then just a little few dots here and there. You don't need much for this to bond to the skeleton frame.
Lovely.
Far away.
Okay. Wish me luck.
Too close.
To what?
It's all right. Carry
You
on.
said too close.
Too close. Don't worry. Carry on. Little dots. That's it. Okay. Right. Just get a cocktail stick. Do while you're doing that one. It's gone quiet. Right.
Okay.
Go for it. You will need to do it facing you, Charlie. So just keep it flush down. That's it. Put it on. Line it up with the windows. Just put it up there against it lightly. That's it. Line it up, and you can tell obviously on the inner edge of the doors here, it should be flush with the skeleton frame. So that gives you a good idea. And then grab your side piece, interlock it in, flush it underneath the roof truss. No, have we got the wrong part? No, that's it. Yeah. So
Goes that because the fat bits at the top.
Yeah, so bring it on that side.
Underneath the roof truss.
Slide it up. So while you're doing that one, we can interlock this one. All good?
I think so. I just need to.
Just
Need to.
Just make sure they line up with the windows, which
Yeah, that's all fine.
Flush with the bottom.
Yeah.
Everything's
Are we interlocking?
Yep. So you push them together if need be. And what I would personally do is I'd hold them there, literally, because this is the important part.
I think.
You're interlocking bricks. Just literally hold it there. Let that glue go off for 30 seconds.
Couple
to
of
a minute.
seconds.
You can put some Tamiya masking tape. Don't use any other tape because you'll take all your paint off your bricks, and you might take some bricks off as well. Now you might end up losing the odd little brick on the corners because they are extremely fragile, but some paint over them is not going to be the end of the world. So that's gone on really nicely this end. How's your end gone on? So yeah, that looks looking good. So it's a little bit on, so just hold it down.
Right, whilst you're holding that, what's next?
We need to do the rest of the brickwork. So the rest of the brickwork are the side panels and the columns and the backs of the roof.
These little bits here.
Yeah, so these are really tricky. So they are locked in. So you need your zippy blade or a knife just to come out. Again, there's little lines to show you where they are. You can just
Put it down. Okay, I've never used one of these.
zippy blades.
What are they called?
Zippy blades. That's what I call them. You get them from Amazon. Packs of 100. They'll last you a lifetime unless you do modelling full time. Right, I think Charlie's trying to get rid of me. He's already taken these parts out. Good on you, Charlie. So on the building, we'll have 4 columns that go on the inner side of the building here. So one here, and duplicated on the outside. We've also got 2 long pieces of brickwork, if you can see that there, that go on the ends. Now the inner columns you need to make up into a U. I would go back to using a paintbrush for this. It's just so fiddly. Using cocktail stick is just not worth it. So add some glue on the inner edge, use some tweezers, and then just literally hold them together while they bond and let it dry in the form of a U shape. Now you might end up losing the odd tiny piece of brickwork on here simply because they're just so small. Okay, so we've got to make 4 of those up, which we'll do. And then again on these ones, the long parts, we've got 3 sections. So on the end part here, which is the long part that will run along the side of your building, you'll have a 90-degree angle brickwork here and a 90-degree brickwork angle here. It'll be more explanatory when we've made it and we can show you what it looks like. Do you want to make those, Charlie, or shall I?
I shall knock these out in no time.
These out in no time. Right, let's have some glue for you.
Now, from the master tutor, I've made up some of these little brick bits.
It's done really well.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, you take great care when you take these out of the frets, and then you make up these little U-shaped channels. It's all straightforward, but make sure you do a dry assembly first. So you've got 2 here, which go on the roof. We'll show you in a second, and sorry, 4 there and 2 here. So where do they go? Now these ones here first. And if I can show you on here, they go on the end of the roof, underneath
the roof truss.
Underneath the trusses. It butts up against it, so you've got that new line. Yeah. Hopefully you can see where it fits. It's nice and snug. And the others go, I've got to get this right myself now,
And the slots in the ends.
in the slots here, so it goes in just there.
And you've got one on this side as well.
Yes,
and
you've
then
got
duplicate the other
on
side.
the other side. So that is where they go. Right,
Glue them.
glue them in.
Yep.
So now Steve and I have glued these in place, and you can see now the stonework along here, both ends, and those are those small columns, the U-shaped columns we've made up. Beautiful. So what's next? We've got the last little bit of brickwork now, I suppose,
final
isn't it?
piece of brickwork.
And then these should sort of poke out with your fingers, sort of things like that.
Yeah, just held on at the very ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens to these is they go into here to make up the ends of the gables. Lovely, fit in there exactly. So we need to glue those 4 in, and then we can think about the roof, can we?
We can certainly start adding the roof details next.
Okay. So now, excitingly, we move on to the roof. And Steve has a roof with a slit in, and as you can clearly see, it pops in there. Now, Steve has previously mentioned that these do need to be held in place.
So we need the glue.
Right, so you're going to glue?
Yep. Again, this won't be seen, so you don't need to worry about glue spilling over the edge. But you do need to make sure you've got plenty on there for it to adhere to. And on the top of the roof edge as well. And that slots over the top.
And this is the long, laborious bit now,
Yep.
because we
Does that
sit
slide
and
all the way
wait.
down?
No. No. Right, so if I hold that in place and you put the next piece on.
That's got to go down a bit more. That's it.
Oops.
And then that one should fit, and fit flush on the top of that one.
Beautiful.
And again, you're going to need to hold it there
Need to
for
hold this for a
a
while.
few minutes
And
while
then
it bonds.
obviously we just need to rinse and repeat on the other end.
When you come to paint your roof tiles, remember you'll have an overlap at the end. Just paint that as well, just to give some protection. So if you're looking at your building underneath, you're not going to see MDF. And again, you're going to need to make sure you press against your roof to keep it in position while that's bonding.
Okay.
And then we'll line this one up as well. And hopefully you'll get a nice way at the top. Just want to come down there. That looks good, that looks good. So I'm going to hold it this end.
Got a bit of a gap under your finger.
You've got a gap under my finger. Okay, so we'll bring that forward. There you go.
It's cosy, isn't it? We can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and Steve has provided a couple of frets here now with coping stones and lintels, windowsills. Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep. And Steve made some previously, and what he does is get some Tamiya tape, whaps it over so it sticks to the board, and then puts the stuff on top of it that you want to paint, which seems jolly sensible. So we're just going to take out these coping stones and then pop them in place.
Held on with a small tab.
Yeah, with a small tab on there, and paint them. And we're going to paint them with this concrete paint because it just happens to be what we have to hand, and it's by Woodland Scenics, and it's C1217. But any concrete kind of coloured paint will do. But we're trying to stay with acrylics because they dry much easier.
We haven't primed these because they're small items. We don't need to prime them. A couple of coats of whatever you use would suffice on these. So that's what we've done. And obviously, just make sure on some of the items that you need to paint 3 sides. On the top ledges, the underside will be visible, the top won't be, so make sure that you paint underneath, but you'll see how you get on. So, but a couple of coats is all you need to do. You don't need to prime those.
Right, so we'll just cut these out and whap them out and then paint them out. Okay.
Right, so we painted the coping stones in a concrete colour. We've used deck tan in the end, and obviously it will need a wash of some kind. When you come to add the column stones, you might need to use your zippy blade and just run slightly into the side of the brickwork so your coping stone fits on there nice and flush. And then obviously then you can add the rest of the coping stones on the edges. You have a small side and a long side, so just make sure when you come to add them on, you've got your overlap on the correct side. So you'll find on the left hand side is the long part, on the right hand side is the small part, and that should fit on there nicely. So if you need to, zippy blade, run it along the side into the brickwork, and then clip it down and then add your coping stone. Tiny bit of glue and allow it to dry. They are tiny, they might come off, so just put them back on again, just hold them in space. When you add the roof stones on, just make sure there's a small overlap on the outside, so when you come to paint them, remember just to paint them slightly underneath as well. So we're just going to add the final piece of glue to this one, complete this, and then that's the roof done apart from the apex capping. So we'll add a bit more glue, run it all the way down, and then we've got the long one on the left, small one on the right, and you'll find you've got a half stone which you need to put on the left hand side facing up, and again on the right hand side you've got a half stone, face it right towards the stone at the bottom, fit it in position, and then just once you've got it on, just tip it on the side and just use your eye to make sure that you've got a ridge overhanging slightly, and once you're happy with that, just put them into position, push them down and allow it to dry. Okay, so we've completed the coping stones on the roof. All that we need to do now is add the roof apex capping. Now in the kit is the only part that's not laser cut, and this is a half round piece of plastrut which will come with your kit, which you'll need to prime on the top. You don't need to prime underneath because we'll be gluing that to the roof apex. Paint it in the same colour as your roof tiles. Obviously I did paint one earlier before I came to see Charlie today, so it's a slightly different grey. Then trim to fit, just stick it on there, put it underneath the coping stones, allow a little bit of an overlap, trim it off, glue it into position. You'll need to hold it there again for a couple of minutes, replicate the side, and then finish off with the middle section, and you'll end up with a tiny little piece left. How are you getting on, Charlie?
Not bad. I've got these 4 frets, and these are for the internal doors. I've sprayed them with white primer both sides, but on this side I've painted them chocolate brown for a sort of a GWR colour. So what I'm going to do now is cut them out and glue this one to that side, and then glue this one to the other side to give me the doorways then to fit, which would then go into these internal doorways in here. So, and what are you going to do next?
We need to finish off with the windows and obviously complete those by fitting the window lintels and ledges. They've been painted, they're now dry, so once you've finished yours and we've added those, we can add those to the brickwork.
So here are my little doors that I've put together. So it's the piece of card with the doors stuck either side, and I've gone for a sort of chocolate brown, this sort of GWR look, and I haven't glued them in, I've just sort of poked them in, and hopefully you can see the doors in situ, all sort of closed in a closed position. We can come back, because I haven't glued them in, I can perhaps come back, glue them in an open position at a later date. Meanwhile, Steve is moved on to the lintels.
So we came pre-prepared with some lintels and ledges painted, so all we need to do is add some glue into the tops for the ledges and the lintels, and the bottom for the ledges. So just take them off, obviously double-sided tape, just take them out, tiny bit of glue. I'm back to a paintbrush for this because obviously it's a little bit of a longer area.
That's my glue and glaze glue, by the way.
Oh, it doesn't, any glue would do finely. So, and then just fit them in, and they fit in flush. The window lintels are flush. The ledges have a slight protrusion because obviously they're
hopefully you can see there it is in position. Right, so we just need to whack all of the rest of these in next.
Correct.
What I've also done is I've glued together the door frames. So we have the door frames on either side, and it's like a sandwich really, because there's a piece of what do you call it? Perspex, no?
PETG is the correct terminology.
Plastic is sandwiched in the middle, so now I can glue those in position once Steve has finished with the lintels. We
have primed these white. Obviously, if you want to paint them prior to adding your plastic in between.
Oh yeah. Because this is loosely based on Westbury Station, we've gone for the sort of the GWR feel of the white frames. But of course, if you're going for a sort of a southern region, you might be, paint them in green or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there we go. Right, we'll come back to you as soon as we put the lintels and windowsills in.
So we're coming to the end of the build, and Charlie's done a cracking job, I reckon, with a little bit of help, obviously, but that was to be expected. The window, lintels, ledges, everything are in now. The only thing we've got to put in now are these side gutter fascia boards, which go on the side here on the brickwork. We haven't added any at the front and the rear, but they will come in the kit. Predominantly, we haven't added it here because we're still developing a canopy to go on the front for Charlie's building for his station, along with the canopies, which will be coming soon as well. So we're going to add these in finalising the video. What did you think, Charlie? You've never made a laser cut kit before. How did you find it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was easier than I thought. Though of course I've got Steve here to turn and say which bits go where and all the rest of it. But it's not sort of rocket science really. I think the other thing is that the hint bits of using the sponge, your little razor knife to cut the stuff up was easier, and the glue and glaze, all that worked out okay. Whether I would have done it, I think I would have done the doors in this sort of tobacco yellow. I would have done, which is more of a GWR, I think. Yeah. I would have done those, but then again, I haven't glued the doors in. You can tell that because one's just fallen out. But
we'll always send you another lot.
Yeah, that's it. That's the trick, isn't it? And then of course, talking about lighting, whether I would actually run a little tube up the top there and put some base lighting in, or some lighting in the floor of the station to do it that way. But either way, this is a smashing little bit of kit. And I think you're right about the rendering, not to put a render wash on, because it's just dark enough. It does what it says.
We were going to show you the difference, but unfortunately I didn't bring that part with us. But in 00 gauge, I don't think it's worth doing the mortaring. No, it takes away the brickwork, the enhanced brickwork that we do on our laser cut kits, and I don't think it needs it.
No.
And the roofs come out really well. And
this was the first production model, isn't it?
This is the first kit off the production line.
And
so that's Charlie's.
This is mine, and I think you said these will go on sale. So if you're watching this video, then it's on sale.
Yep.
So if you click the links below to
railwaylaserlines.co.uk, it should be available when you see this video. There are a few in stock. Once they've gone, it will be a pre-order basis, and they will be done as and when we can. We're really, really busy at the moment, but we'll try and get those to you as soon as we can. But there are a number of kits available should you wish to purchase it.
Now, one other thing worth mentioning is I've asked Steve to take a look at the platform canopies, and here is the first prototype.
First prototype.
And as you can see, it's one hell of a beast. I think we've decided it's not long enough.
No,
it needs to be
another sort of
little bit longer to cover the first part of the platform, because the last thing you wanted was 2 parts. And all these legs are right because he's made up a jig, and again, in a couple of months' time, this should be available commercially from him. And
it should go well with your station building and your platform tops.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So there we go. So that wraps up Steve's part.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. And then obviously you'll find in the next couple of clips there will be we'll install this up on the station, and we'll have another look at that. Thank you very much. Cheers, fella.
Been a pleasure, Charlie.
Thank you. That's good to go. So back to me at the station. Well, here we are with the station building in place, and I must confess that I think it looks rather splendid. And by coincidence, it does match rather well these Victorian tenement buildings. It kind of blends in nicely. Here is Steve's prototype canopy, and as you can imagine, the one from Dapol is worlds apart. It clearly is a magnificent construction, though obviously it does need to be longer. And what we need to work on now is the transition from the back of this canopy onto the station building, because we need some kind of weatherproofing cover coming over here to allow passengers to come to and from the platforms without getting soaking wet. So I imagine the station canopy is going to come back here. Excuse me while I use this one. But obviously we need some kind of weathering canopy to go in here. All ideas are much appreciated. Well, I do hope you found the video interesting, and if you're interested in a similar construction, then you'll find the details in the Show More tab, which will take you to Railway Laser Lines website of Lee. I must confess I'm thoroughly impressed with it. I'm quite excited about the canopy. I can't take my eyes off that little beastie. Anyway, let's wrap this one up. I'd like to thank the patrons who make it all possible, the subscribers, and if you're not one, you know where you need to click, and there should be a video here and here, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thanks a lot, take care. Bye-bye.